So shortly, it must have been the same day Derek got there, if not shortly, like right after. There was this guy Jason that came in, and boy, do I know Jason. I know Jason before I met Jason because I know that type. He's my stepdad. He's that fucking crack addict, heroin addict, fucking just any sort of upper he can get on, he's gonna get his hands on. And he's just super like it's not natural ADHD. It's just the drugs have done it over time to the point that he like you can't even talk to him for more than 10 seconds without him completely interrupting you and taking the conversation wherever he wants it. And yeah, that dude's gonna be there for a while, and he should be because that dude's a dick. Because all he does is punch walls, and he just gets angry and hits things. And he tried to convince me he's a 2 trillionaire because he has Zimbabwe money. Look at this shit. He really thinks this is real money. I mean, obviously it is in Zimbabwe or whatever, but he thinks that as soon as he gets out, he's a 2 trillionaire. Oh, he also believes that all of the Hells Angels are after him and that he has a $30,000 bounty on his head. And I was like, I almost wanted to tell him, like, if you have a like that's nothing. If you're a 2 trillionaire, why not just pay the $30,000 bounty? And, like, I'm sure he just would have been like, fuck it, I'll just take the Hell's Angels. Fuck them. Just like why does all of the Hell's Angels, do they even still exist? Do the Hell's Angels still exist? This dude's convinced that all of the Hell's Angels are after him specifically. They're all there, like, we're going to get him. We're getting him. And he's not, but not in like the typical paranoid person way. Not otherwise I wouldn't be saying in such a hysterical way. He's not like sitting there like, dude, like the Hell's Angels are after. Like he brags about it. He brags about it. Like he's like, yeah, I got the fucking Hell's Angels after me. They don't want shit with me, nigga. Like, and he's just just has this huge ego problem. And we almost actually fucking got into it. We almost got into it. I haven't had a physical fight in a minute, but it almost happened because as I was walking by, well, firstly, this was after they moved me. Oh, I still got to tell you about Tim too. Tim was on the same level as Eric, but in a different way. As I was, eventually they moved me out of the room that Ben was in. But Ben was eventually discharged like 3 days after I was there, and luckily he was doing alright enough that they let him out and they let him go home with his wife or whatever. Ben was the walking guy. They moved me into a different room all the way to the end on the right. Now here's what you got to know about me. Ever since that hotel incident, I have this superstition that left for life, because that's where that stairwell was that I jumped down, that led me to being survived and not being here. It led me to being here enough to make the video. Like, so ever since that hotel incident, whenever I have the preference, I always go to the left. You know what I'm saying? So it's always been left for life, but it was such, there's so many just weird coincidences and stuff that forced me through things to get over things here. One of them being that they moved me all the way down to the end of the hallway to the right, far right bed with and I'm using this in the right context, with the craziest dude. And Tim never said a word. Completely, you look into his eyes, there's nothing. He had the bluest eyes in the world, but nothing. I think I heard him say thank you to somebody one time, but like nothing. The whole time I was there, he was like the veteran there. He'd been there longer than anybody, but he didn't talk to shit. And he was my roommate for the rest of my time there. So that was creepy as fuck, because he would just get up and like circle around things, and like you can't read the dude at all because he doesn't talk, he doesn't look at anything, he just looks. It's so weird seeing a person with eyes not looking. You know what I'm saying? It's the weirdest. They're just not looking. They have their eyes open. There are eyes. They're just not looking at anything. They're just. It's almost like whenever you like catch yourself like looking into space or whatever, and you're just like in your head thinking things. That's how he is 24/7. Like, so if you try to get his attention, he'll just kind of like pull his ear towards your way. Anyway, so this Jason guy comes up to me this day and he says, oh, and also fucking Jason. Again, I really know this type of person. I know this breed of people because it's my stepdad. It was Darren. He comes up and he's like, so Tim's your cellmate? And I'm like, my cellmate? And I was pissed off for two reasons there, because not only one, he's making fun of Tim, like he knows something. Like because like he thinks he's better than Tim because he's not as fucked up as Tim. But he was implying that like, I've been to jail and I know what cellmates are. That he wherever he is, he does everything he can to gain that status and to cement himself as the alpha male. And you could just see him do it. And he came up to my room as I was like folding my clothes for the morning or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, so Tim, your cellie?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, my cellmate?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm fucking 21. I've only been eligible for prison for like a few years. Like, I don't, like, why are we even bringing that up?" And he's like, "Oh, because I've been to prison. I know, you know what I'm saying." And he just started going into this whole thing about his life in prison. I just fucking ignored him. But then later, a couple hours later, they have this place. I spent most of my time outside. You couldn't actually go out of the premises, but they had this like caged in area where you could go outside, kind of like if you go into the lunchroom and then you go, there's a little door and you open it and it takes you out into a little sanctuary type place. It has a little waterfall with some rocks and a bench and then just like two little seats. It's just a place to get fresh air, just get some vitamin D, you know what I'm saying? So you're not inside all the time, but it very much is all caged in. Like you can't get out. It's a very small area, but I spent a lot of my time out there because if you're around the actual really fucked up people long enough, you will start to get that way. You won't get that, but it's very much like a disease. Like it's contagious, just the way that they are. So I spent a lot of time just out there, but luckily I had my boy Derek, who is very much like me. I still haven't really talked about Derek very much, besides the fact that he liked WWE. Derek, I think him and my girlfriend are texting right now. They're like, we plan to hang out later. He wants to go see the new Jurassic Park movie with me. Oh, and he's a screenwriter. He's a dope ass screenwriter too. He writes these screenplays. Like he showed me some of them, and like he showed me some of these ideas he's had, and like, wow, he's like really fucking like like if he keeps at it, he has a future in that industry. Like he really has some good, fresh, original ideas for things to put on a screen. And so he spent a lot of time writing a lot of screenplays and stuff, but he would often come out with me while I was reading through the books or I was writing something down, which I'm about to get into a second. I got a lot to talk about with what I've been writing, but he used to come out there with me. God, where was I? So Jason, so I walk in, so I spent a lot of time outside, but I was walking in to go get something because it was actually this. I've been keeping this on me forever. You should get one of these for people because everybody knows that everybody's dehydrated. Carry around a bottle of water everywhere you go. I can't recommend it enough. It's so good. Just always keep it filled and keep it wherever you go. I have one for upstairs and one for downstairs. But I left it in my room, so I had set up outstairs. Oh, and another reason that I would spend a lot of time out there was because that was the only place I could fingerboard without like bothering other people because the clicking, clacketing. Because there's a lot of people there that they just like real sudden noises. It bothers them a lot, so just out of respect for them, I would do all my fingerboarding outside. And it was actually kind of cool with the rock formations and the waterfall and stuff. I could do a lot of cool I had a lot of fun with my fingerboard out there. But I walked in to go because I left this in my room, so I was walking in. So you walk into. So when you're walking out of the outside place, you go into the kitchen. Kitchen leads into the main lobby, which is like where the receptionist area is, and there's like a goldfish tank, and that's where everybody hangs out. And then you go down the hallway, which is where all the rooms are, and where I mentioned where the comfort room and the showers and everything are. But as I leave out, I'm going through the kitchen. As I'm going through the main lobby, where there's a couple people sitting, including Jason, I hear him fucking laugh at me. Like he just looks at me and goes, ha ha ha, and I just stopped. I was like, I turned around. I was like, did you just fucking laugh at me? Like, did you just really laugh at me? And he's like, and he just turned around. He's like, what do you mean? I didn't laugh. I was like, no, you very much did just laugh. What? Like, what did I do? And he's like, I didn't laugh. Like, you need to calm down and stuff. And I was like, dude, for somebody who thinks they have the whole fucking hell's, I hit him so hard, dude. I was like, for somebody who thinks they have the whole Hell's Angels after him, and with like a $30,000 bounty on their head, and you just put a fucking hole in the pillar out there, you have no right to tell me to calm down. And then he was like, you need to back off before it goes down, man. And then like some nurse like came in, and she was like, you guys need to fucking chill. Like, And then I don't remember who said it, but somebody said in like behind me, like you're gonna stay longer if you do this. So I immediately backed off. I was like, okay, fucking, like, not, that's not worth it. Whoa, not worth it. So we never really talked after that, but there was like a very mutual agreement that that dude and me were not cool. So then I went to my room, and then I went back, and next day, it was actually my last day there, I believe. He fucking flipped out. He lost his shit, and I saw it coming too. It was funny. I don't know if I've been watching Mark Maron's show. You can see it on Netflix. It's just called Maron. If you're a fan of things like Louis and stuff, Mark Maron, watch Maron. Maron is a fantastic show. It makes me regret not already knowing about him and listening to his podcast and stuff. But they have this. I believe it's in season 2. They only have the first 2 seasons up on Netflix, and we're only a couple episodes into season 3. So it's definitely not too late to catch up. And it's you know the kind of shows I like. I don't like those kind of shows where you have to sit there and you have to watch it to follow the story. I just like shit that you can put on in the background and just keep doing whatever you're doing. And Maron is one of those shows. So like, it's very much like Louis, because they're friends and they live in the same city, and they're both comedians. So anyway, in one of the episodes of Maron, it's like couples counseling, and it was very much it was just like what happened in that episode where Mark Maron, he has this like young girlfriend or whatever, and they're trying to do couples therapy with another couple, which I guess is a thing. It's just one couple they just do each other, and Maron just something started happening between the other couple, and because of who Mark Maron is, he just loves watching just like passive aggressive shit just slowly boil to a point of, to a boiling point, and where things eventually explode, and he's just sitting there, he's like, yes, here it comes, it's gonna happen, because he knew the whole marriage counseling thing was bullshit, and he just couldn't, like, this was everything he was saying it was gonna be. But that's what was happening. This was yesterday. They were all sitting there playing cards. It was the only other patient there who was there for anxiety. I keep wanting to call her Deborah, but I know that's not her name. She was a very nice lady though, and she was playing cards with Jason and 2 older guys that I didn't really get to know much about. They were definitely in the second half of their life, which is what I mean when I say old. I don't mean that in a bad way when I say they were in the second half of their life. I'm just trying to say that they were old. But they were all sitting there playing cards, and I could just see that passive aggressive shit start happening, because he was doing that childish shit that kids do, where like, because he was the one that like tried to rally everybody in there to play cards, and I don't even know what they were playing, but they were, because I've never been good at much card games. I've never done them, but I could just tell he was doing that thing that kids do, where like if they start losing, they just kind of start making up rules or whatever. They just start making up shit, so that, like, oh, this means that I can do that, or and eventually, like, they were just kind of letting it slide, but eventually one of the older dudes was like, nah, nah, you can't do that. And Jason was like, no, I can very much do whatever I want. Like, you cannot tell it. Like, he took it way too far. Like, the old dude was just like, you can't, no. And Jason took it so far. He's like, you cannot tell me what I can and can't do. I'm an adult. And over here in my head, I'm like, you're barely an adult. You're not you're not an adult. Anyway, so he this is about to get good. Let me stop this and go to the next video.